Hello, my name is Tylluan Penry. I'm a solitary pagan witch. I'm an author and the founder of the Wolf and Howl Press. Today's little chat is again suggested by somebody who messaged me. What do you do about people who set up a campaign of bullying and harassment against you? Now, as far as I'm aware, mostly the bullying and gossiping is done on social media. But of course the problem with it is it will spill out sometimes with very bad consequences. So firstly, I would say, as in the real world, keep a journal, keep a diary of what's going on. Keep screenshots, keep records. That's important, just in case it happens to get worse. It's common sense, nothing to do with magic. Magically, you have to protect yourself. Now, the best protection is always a psychic shield. Most times I tell people, always have at your disposal a psychic shield and something which is offensive. Not because you're necessarily going to use it, but you need to look as though you do. And that would be something like a sword or an axe. My favourite was one of these whacking great broadswords, you know, these sort of things that were 3 feet long. Took both hands to hold it. And then I couldn't carry my shield. So I only ever brought that one out when I really needed to present a deterrent. And this is what a lot of psychic self-defense is about. If you believe you're being magically attacked, then you need to deal with it. But sometimes you can use magical means to deal with a non-magical attack, which I think is what was being asked here. One of the first things is you really, although you keep a journal, you really do have to cut communication. I don't mean you have to cut all your knowledge of what they're doing and look the other way, but it does help if you don't get into it with them. Don't get into arguments, because some people do feed on arguments. Their lives are so dull and uninteresting themselves. They really love arguments. They get off on it. And when they're doing it, they're draining your energy. A lot of people don't understand this, but they do. They drain your energy right off. So that's one of the first things. Concentrate on a lot of cleansing. It is important. People look down their noses at cleansing. It's as though, oh yes, but I want the proper stuff. No, I'm sorry. You don't get the proper stuff with the broadswords and heaven knows what until you cleanse. Because there is no point in trying the harder stuff until you've got these people and every bit of contact with them out of your life, out of your personal space. You have to get it out. And if they happen to be living in the same house as you, you have to have some space where they cannot come. Something like your bedroom or even a corner of your bedroom. Something where they will not come and you will not allow them. Something which is magically protected, so that if they do come into it, you are at least protected. So that's important. Cleansing is terribly important. Mostly I do it with salt, because I like salt. I've never got on with sage smudging. I know a lot of people swear by it, but I don't. And if there's anybody out there who doesn't get on with it either, you're not alone. I find salt very good. I go off scattering it around the house if I get problems. Not very good to scatter indoors. There are lots of other things you can use though. You can use things like, like making a wreath for the door. Now that was always protective. You put prickly things on it like holly in the winter, though holly grows all year round. Nothing wrong with you putting a bit of holly on it. And you put red ribbons, always red traditionally, for dealing with psychic attacks. Red and blue some people had. Red I always had in Wales. So you do things like that. You try very hard to get stuff as clean as you can. You put your wreath up. You can even tie things like put a little... Supposing you're trying to keep your bedroom separate. What's wrong with you putting a red bow on the door? Or a red bow on the door handle? Something red. Simple. People don't know what it is and you don't tell them either. That's yours. One of the traditions of putting a rose up around the cottage doorway was partly so that no evil went past. Because it's a thorny plant. It catches things. It snags them. And another one, of course, you can use is brambles. Let your brambles grow a bit. Put them in. You know, what have you. It is very important to cut connections with people who are starting to threaten you and bully you. But And I was starting to tell you about the psychic armour. You create for yourself, and it's one of the most important things you can ever have, is a shield. And it has to be a reasonably big shield. Nothing too fancy in shape. Round, oblong. Sometimes the shield shape is quite nice. But something you can easily visualise. And you create it mentally. Now, we've talked before in my videos about how difficult it is to create things and visualise them. So I would suggest drawing a picture of what you have in mind. Colour it in. Take a photograph somewhere. Anything. Something which is big enough that when you feel these nasty things coming your way, because when we talk about barbed comments, you know, that's exactly what they are. They have barbs on them. And why do they have barbs? Do you know? So they cannot be pulled out again. That's what the Scythians did, the archers, the great archers from the ancient world. They often put barbs on their arrows. So once they went in, they couldn't come back out again. And of course, if they didn't come back out again, the victim, even if it wasn't a particularly dangerous part, you know, it could just catch the arm. But if you couldn't get it out again, they died of blood poisoning and infection. So that's why a barbed comment is so dangerous, likewise. So you have to have a big enough shield, and you just visualise it. You don't have to do it when the attack is happening. You start doing it beforehand. You visualise your shield. So nasty comet, up. And you have to visualise the comet. Here comes the comet. Right, up, up. And you can even visualise the sparks flying off. And believe you me, I have suggested this so many times to so many people. And those that have actually done it and not just talked about it will always come back and say, you know, it really made a difference. And after a while, the person who was flinging the barbed comments was like, you could see that they realised something had changed. And it does. So that's really important. Creating your own shield. Cut contact as much as you can. Remember, the comments are barred. Don't think they're trivial, because they're not. And of course, the other thing, the idea of having a visualised weapon, like a sword. So if you really have to, you are visualising yourself standing there with your shield, if you can. I was a bit silly with mine. I have a very big sword. But it is literally, you are standing there with your shield and your sword. You've got your shield on your arm, your sword here. And it's like, right, come on then, come on. And because you're visualising it, it connects with them on a magical level. You're not actually doing anything to harm them. You're not going out doing anything that's going to get you arrested. You are, however, protecting yourself, your space, and hopefully your friends and family. Unless it's friends and family who are causing it, in which case you just have to be a bit more vigilant. But that's the way you get started. You do have to protect yourself. Cleansing, psychic armour, keeping a journal, just in case it gets really bad on the physical level, because you don't know. Don't take it for granted. There are some very bad people about, and we have to deal with them sometimes. But anyway, if it applies to you, I do hope it helps. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.